My family's great migration. My name is David Thomas. I'm a current freshman political science major at Howard University. Currently, my family resides in the great state of California. My family has cultured and developed in the great cities of San Francisco and Oakland, California. San Francisco is pictured in the far end of the picture, whereas Oakland is pictured in the near side. This picture here shows documentation of all the southern states in the Union. On my maternal side of my family, my grandfather was born and raised in Mississippi. My grandmother was born in Arkansas, however she moved at the age of 2. My grandfather, L.C. Jones, born in 1938, grew up in an era that I couldn't even imagine existing in. My grandfather grew up in the segregated Jim Crow South and has similar experiences as those in the book The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. As I remember looking at his birth certificate, it states colored, just like the image of the one on the screen. However, mine today presently says African American. Like most migrants during that time, my grandfather migrated from Mississippi to Chicago. In Chicago, he worked and lived independently until he was able to afford to take the train to California for a better lifestyle. The story of how my grandparents met is actually very interesting. I'll briefly share it. When my grandfather arrived from Chicago in Oakland, he found work at a local gas station. It just so happens that that gas station was located about 3 or 4 blocks away from my grandmother's high school. Somehow, they crossed paths, and a young man from Mississippi and a young lady from Arkansas created a family, and the rest is history. The gas station, as pictured on the screen, is still open and available for use today. Despite both my maternal grandparents not receiving a college education, they both lived successfully. Today, they are the wisest people I've ever spoken with. My father's migration is very different, but not as complex as my mother's migration. He lived in St. Louis, Missouri, and then on moved to San Francisco, California. Unlike my grandparents, both of my parents got their high school and college education. So there you have it. My grandmother moved from Arkansas to California. My father moved from St. Louis directly to California. And finally, my grandfather moved from Mississippi to Chicago on to California to our current home and location. So that just leaves me, an only child migrating from California for college education at Howard University. I promised my family that I wouldn't let all their hard work and motivation go to waste.